What's going on, guys? So let's talk about why picking your MOS in the Army Reserves or the Army National Guard is more difficult than picking your MOS if you decide to go active duty. So this video is going to be dedicated to all of you guys who are about to go talk to a recruiter, and you're going to go there, you're going to walk in the door, and you're going to tell them you want to pick this MOS. So you haven't talked to a recruiter yet, or maybe you've talked to one over the phone and you haven't quite gone to them and actually picked your MOS. And if you're wanting to do the Army Reserves or the National Guard, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you to pick your MOS, especially if you have it already. You already have an MOS in mind, which I do recommend having an MOS in mind when you go and talk to a recruiter, because they might try to sway you into doing something that they want you to do. But the reason why picking your MOS in the Army Reserves is going to be a little bit more difficult, and that's because it's based on your area, right? So let's say you wanted to do active duty. Well, there's roughly 160 plus jobs in the Army. If you qualify for all 160 jobs, you only need like 110 on your GT score on the ASVAB, which you could probably get around if you get an 85 on the ASVAB, but that's not the topic of this video. But let's say you get that, you qualify for all 160 jobs for the Army. Well, you can pretty much pick, or you can pick from all 160 of those jobs, right? So if you want to do Airborne Ranger, you want to do option 40 infantry, you can go ahead and pick that as long as it's available at that time. If you want to do military intelligence, you can pick that MOS. If you want to be a truck driver, you can pick that MOS. If you want to be a horizontal construction worker, whatever they're called, or whatever that MOS is, you can be that MOS. But let's say you wanted to be in the Army Reserves. You go into a recruiter's office and you want to pick, for my example, 25 Bravo. So you want to pick Information Technology Specialist. I almost went blank there for what my job was. But let's say you want to do that. Just like I did, I walked into a recruiter's office and I said, hey, I want to be this MOS. And without any prior knowledge before, for me, I didn't know that it's a lot more difficult to pick your MOS in the Army Reserves, because what happened was when I went to the recruiter and I told him I wanted that job, he told me, well, that's probably not going to happen because there's only so many jobs that are around this area. Because if you think about it, in the Army Reserves, you're only going to drive so far. So there's only so many units that are going to be in your state, or maybe in a nearby state that you can go to in the Army Reserves that you can go to, right? So let's say for me, I live in North Carolina. I live close to Charlotte, and I wanted to be a 25 Bravo, but there was no 25 Bravo slots available. There was no position for me anywhere around me, right? I might have to travel like 10-15 hours of driving time, or even I would want to fly or whatever to do that, which is not a practical thing. You're not going to want to do that, and you're just not going to be able to do that, right? So you're not going to be able to pick a unit that is essentially longer than 5, 6, 7 hours away from you, because I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a huge hassle. He asked me how long of a drive am I willing to do to get to my MOS, and I told him about 3 hours of driving, and I think that'll be fine. So for me, that's usually kind of like driving to the beach from here. It's really not that bad. So if I had to get to the unit at 6:30, then I was going to have to leave at like 3:30 in the morning, and I thought, that's not too bad. Just one time a month, so I didn't think it was that bad, so that was my limit or whatever. But for some of you guys, you're gonna pick an MOS, or you want to join the Army Reserves, or you want to join the Army National Guard, and there is not going to be a position for you anywhere around you. Okay, so it is literally dependent on the units around you, and there are some little pockets across the US that might have more a military intelligence area over here, or a signal area, or transportation area, and you want to pick certain MOSs, but that MOS might not be available for where you're at. And so I want you guys to remember that and keep that in mind. So one thing you can do is you can work with a recruiter just to see like what for all of the units around you, like what kind of jobs have, or what units have that job. So for me, I went to the recruiter. I told him, I was like, hey, if I don't get 25 Bravo, then I'm not doing it. I don't want to go in. And eventually I came back later, and the job position 25 Bravo was posted. Now, I want to mention this because I didn't say this before. When I did go to the recruiter, there was only 2 jobs available for me, and that was a truck driver, 88 Mike, and a horizontal construction worker. I'm not sure what that MOS is, but there was only 2 jobs available. Both of them had a $10,000 or $15,000 bonus, and I was like, man, I have no skills for either one of those jobs really. And I was like, I don't really want to do either one of those jobs. So I was like, man, if I don't get 25 Bravo, then I don't want to do it. So I told the recruiter that, and I came back later at another time because I wanted to check again, and it was posted there. So what happens in the Army Reserves is the units in your surrounding areas will post onto whatever that recruiter site is, however the recruiters get their information, whatever, you know, links or whatever they have to go through. Your units, the units around you, will post to that site and say that, you know, this position is available at our unit. And whenever they do that, you are going to be able to pick that job if you want to go to that unit. And luckily for me, don't know, I was pretty lucky. So what happened was I went to recruiter, the job wasn't available. The next week, or however long it was until I came back, somebody from my unit, they posted 25 Bravo as an available position, and I came back and picked it up. So that's how it worked for me. Now, the point of this is it's not going to be easy for everybody, and some of you are going to have to make decisions on your MOS. Now, if you're lucky, if you really don't care what job you want, if you're fine doing whatever, you just want to be in the Army, then that's fine, and you're going to be happy. You're going to be able to pick whichever one you want because you're not going to be specific about it. But if you're like me and you have a specific MOS in mind and you want to join the Army Reserves, it's going to be more difficult because it is based around the units that are around you. Okay, if you want to do active duty, it is you have all of the Army jobs open to you because you're just active duty. You can go pretty much everywhere, right? If you want to do National Guard, this is another little caveat to this whole thing. If you want to do National Guard, you are stuck to the units that are in your state. You have to live in the state that you're going to be in in a National Guard unit, right? So if I was in the North Carolina National Guard, I would have to go to a unit in North Carolina. But if you're in the reserves, I made a video about differences about this before in a past video, but if you're in the reserves, it's a whole countrywide thing. It's a federal Army, right? National Guard is also based on just the state, but since you're in since you're in the Army Reserves, I'm getting kind of confused talking about this, but since you're in the Army Reserves or want to be in the Army Reserves, you will be able to pick a job or a unit or whatever that's outside of your state. So since I live close to Charlotte, that is close to South Carolina, even though I live in North Carolina, I could potentially pick a unit that's where their location is in South Carolina. So keep that in mind when you are wanting to pick your unit. So that is why it is more difficult to pick your MOS whenever you want to join the Army Reserves than if you wanted to do active duty. So that's it for this video. Before I let you guys go, before I finish off this video, I just want to let you guys know that I am moving this Saturday, and if for whatever reason I don't upload a video for a while, or if I don't live stream this weekend, then that's probably the reason why. Maybe I'm just super busy, or maybe for some reason the internet's not working or something's going on. But I am moving this weekend, so if something happens to come up late or whatever, or I don't upload on Monday or Tuesday, that's why. It's because I'm moving this Saturday, which is pretty exciting. So yeah, that is it. Keep this stuff in mind whenever you go and talk to your recruiter if you haven't talked to them yet, especially if you're wanting to do the Army Reserve. Just keep this video in mind that it's going to be a little bit more difficult than you or I might have previously thought without any of this prior knowledge. So if this video helped you out in any way, hitting that like button would be really awesome. It would help me out a lot. And if you want to stick around for some more videos later on in the future, hit that subscribe button. Comment any other questions you guys have down below. I need to go and catch up on all these other questions that I have. I think I got like 20 or 30 to answer today, so I'm gonna be doing that right after this video, and I'll see you guys later.